Good Friday afternoon, evening, wherever you might be. And as Ingan just
Hey.
said, watching you folks is the best way to end the week. Okay, that might be questionable. Maybe you need some
That's-
help.
I wouldn't watch us to end the week.
No. But it's a good way to start the weekend. Because, if
Yeah,
we're
okay.
here, the weekend is close. Right? Right?
Yep.
Karen, good to see you.
For those not working over the weekend, yes.
Depends on what your weekend is. Hi, my name's Darren. This over here is Victor, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox that comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. And on Fridays when we're around, we do this live show going through news of the week and other ramblings that might just happen. That's just the way we go. This is what watching this signifies the end of the week. That's
Very good. If you're in US, that means that you're ending the Friday workday very early. Cool. That's cool.
it would be nice, but no, I'm not. How's your week been?
My week?
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. I honestly don't. I've been doing stuff.
Is
In
this
between
the-
meetings.
Is this the one meeting a week to where you know, okay, this is Friday?
Yes.
Right. At
That's
least this is the delineation for you.
Exactly. Actually, now I looked at the calendar. There are 2 meetings already scheduled after this one. So not yet, baby. Not yet.
Well, I didn't say you were done with the week. I'm just saying that it's Friday.
This Friday, yes.
Right. That's all that
Sometimes,
matters.
as you know, you need to ping me on Slack because I forget that it is Friday. But
Details. This week's podcast was with Arjun from Materialize and talking about materialized views and how all that works. Databases are going to become more and more important. Well, I say databases, data stores, right? They've always been important.
yes. But the amount of data that we are dealing with is increasing drastically, right? As the time passes. So from that perspective, definitely more and more important.
So again, podcast comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern and within a few minutes afterwards. Usually when we're talking to guests, I say podcasts are like DNS. They're eventually consistent. So that's the way it goes. Happy birthday to EKS. 5 years old. Can you believe it? 5 years old.
I actually saw that announcement earlier today, and it was kind of 5? It feels like 20.
Well, for EKS. But it still
Yeah.
feels like 20.
Still feels like 20, yeah. It's kind of, as you know, I think that we are now getting into the phase of, hey, this thingy has been around. I mean, Kubernetes in general, or especially managed Kubernetes. Yeah, it's been forever. We use it our whole lives.
For some people, that is their whole lives. So here's
I mean,
what's
I
happened.
don't know if I said that already in one of the previous streams, but a few weeks ago I heard the important piece of data that every 5 years, the number of developers doubles. And that means that half of developers at any given moment have less than 5 years of experience. Half of developers, at least those who are in Kubernetes, have been using it for their whole career.
That's incomprehensible to me. That's funny. But here's the things that they've called out a bunch of things. But easy cluster updates. I have to admit, once you understand the process, it actually works.
Oh yeah.
Right? It just EKS Cuddle will make your life much easier in dealing with these kinds of things. So it just works.
does.
Fargate, and then the big thing I really think is still them open sourcing Carpenter.
Yes, and so Carpenter is absolutely amazing. It's infinitely better than cluster autoscaler for
The vanilla.
AWS or EKS, right?
Right.
So it's a big step forward. Now I'm a bit skeptical, kind of, open sourcing something that is exclusively for you, but yeah.
So anyway, they're going through talking about some of the other things that are ahead. But hey, there it is. EKS is 5 years old.
Oh, and that was written by Sai? Ah,
By Sai. Yep. You know
Nice.
Sai?
Yeah, I was in. He has a show, like, with Lightboard and stuff. I was in one of his episodes.
Okay.
Cool guy.
Yep. So that is EKS. Another piece of AWS information is this container image signing with the new tool called Signer. I'm assuming you haven't looked at this yet.
I haven't tried that.
Yeah.
I have no strong preference over the tool you use for signing. I can't
No.
sign it. I don't care much how, just as long as you do.
Right. Well, the key part to this one, though, is it's unlike going off into open source in Carpenter, they went to notation, or excuse me, to Notary as the basics of this. So that's good. Yes, sign your images. Always sign your images.
And, always do the things that are no effort, right? If somebody tells me, hey, you're gonna increase your amount of work for half an hour, I would say, let's think about it. But, signing is one of those things. You just add the command to your pipelines and that's it.
For this launch, images stored in ECR and other OCI compliant registries can be signed with notation using the Signer plugin. Sweet. To get started, go through the things. For verification, Kubernetes is supported. Okay, that's good, since that's usually where you run containers most of the time. And then using Kyverno policies.
Very cool.
Now, Ratify. Have you heard of Ratify?
I heard about it, but I haven't used it.
Okay.
Okay, it's with Gatekeeper for those who don't like Kyverno. Cool.
Right. And then other things too. And plus the Kubernetes notary admission.
I like those conclusions. Finally, you can ignore all of those things and write it yourself.
That's always the fall through, isn't it?
Yeah. Spin up that shell script, baby, and put it in a container.
Sometimes that's the easiest way to deal with things. All you need is just that one command. And not the overhead. Nothing against them, but not the overhead of Kyverno and not the overhead of anything else running. Just this. Everything has a purpose. So anyway, that is Signer. And we can't leave AWS without talking about Corey Quinn. 17 final ways to run containers. So he goes through.
I never read anything from Corey outside Twitter. I wonder whether this text is equally picturesque as his tweets.
I think so. ECR public by way of app runner, RDS custom, blah, 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 blah. Here is 17 ways of running containers.
I haven't heard for it.
Of most of these.
Not used. At least 1/3. And haven't used more than half.
I like this one. Tricking an AWS employee to run it for me. Finch. Okay, as a drop-in replacement for Docker Desktop for Mac. I still don't have Docker Desktop running on my Mac. In fact, I don't have Docker Desktop running anywhere.
You don't have Container Engine anywhere? Or
I
Docker
didn't
Desktop?
say that. I just don't have Docker Desktop.
Just check.
But I haven't tried Finch. So. And Workshop Studio. What anyway? Just another in the long line of 17 containers. This is almost like the I never saw the movies, but the posters were always good. What was it? The 50 Shades of Grey. Right. This is Corey's version of the 50 series. This is 17 series.
But with less sex.
I get I'm assuming it was about sex for the movies. I didn't see them, so I don't know. Okay, anyway, that's that. Chainguard this week, which I didn't find this on their blog post, they launched Speranza for we were talking about signing earlier. Well, now there's a new way of signing, and they did this in collaboration with both Purdue and MIT, two big universities. And it's actually a PDF. In case you're really bored this week, it's not, well, I think it is a PDF that you can get. But in case you're really bored this weekend, this is some very dense reading. That's all I can say.
I guess it's signing without keys.
Correct.
Very
signing
cool.
without keys.
I hate keys. They have a tendency to get lost.
Yep. It takes a novel approach to this problem by proposing a solution that maintains signer anonymity while verifying authenticity. That almost seems impossible, doesn't it?
Especially that signer is usually not a person.
Correct.
I mean, if you're running it automatically through pipelines or what's not, it's not a person, it's a machine who signs it.
And that's the problem, right? Well, that's the joy and the problem all at the same time. You've got a machine doing what a machine should do, but a machine is not sentient. It is still 2023.
Not yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's 2023, so if you're watching this in the future, and I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's still very, very interesting. But it's a deep read. So again, like for me, I saw this in the afternoon. I went, okay, I want to read this, but I have to wait till morning when I actually have fresh brain cells to consume it, because it's a very dense read, but very interesting. So anyway, that is from Chainguard this week. I'll skip over this. Okay, here we go. Okay, we've all heard shift left. What is down? That's what. So this headline was definitely clickbait to me. This is like catnip. It's like, okay, wait, shift left, I get. Shift down. I mean, I hear shift down coming from my background as a semi-driver, like driving tractor trailers. When I hear shift down, I'm like, okay, I'm going from 13 to 12 to 11 to 10 to 9 to 8, right? Trying to slow down. And to be sure, shift left, blah, blah, blah. But what we want to do is shift down. We need to first, instead of telling devs and their managers to shift everything left, we need to encourage them to shift down by taking full advantage of the technology available to them and push more workloads down onto the platforms they're already using.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I understand that sentence, to be honest.
I don't either.
Kind of like, should people understand the technology that is designed for them? Yes. Should people understand technology that is not designed for them? Probably not. Right? So it can be interpreted in different ways. Yep. So for example, should a developer understand all the technology that, let's say, security expert is using? If that's the expectation, it's not going to happen. Not happening.
Well, it says here, compress your tech stack. Don't force. Okay. Offer abstractions. I think that's what he's saying. Is just offer those abstractions. So if I've got, I think this is the argument for offering a platform for your developers to use, not to make your developers come up with a platform to use.
The sentence that I've been repeating lately is that if it's too complicated, it's not the right level of abstraction, right? Now, what is the right level of abstraction? That depends from person to person, right? Some people still compile their own kernels, right? And that's the right level of abstraction for them and nobody else. Just as an example, right?
And that's what it says right here. Optimization begins with reducing the cognitive load on developers and removing unnecessary obligations that distract them from innovating. There's a lot of big words in that sentence.
Yes. But it's right. I completely agree with that. I'm still not sure what is shipped down, but hey, I agree with all the sentences you marked so far.
Yeah. Principles. So anyway, like GKE Autopilot gives me a properly hardened managed Kubernetes cluster, right? You should not use GKE just plain.
No, that's debatable, right? Because one route you can take is say, hey, GKE is the right solution, right? Because managing GKE is more complicated. GKE Autopilot is the right solution. Managing GKE is more complicated, hence is not the right solution. But then, depending on which type of expertise you have in a company, some other people might say, no, actually, Autopilot is too constraining. We're going to use GKE, but then we will have to create abstractions on top of it so that others can jump in, right?
Right, but how do you know that you need to create abstractions unless you've already gone through the autopilot phase? Right, because autopilot,
Autopilot, you might say, let me take Google Cloud Run just as slightly more drastic example, right? It's a right level of abstraction for some, or it's a right type of service for some, but not for everybody, right? The bigger the company is, the more tweaks they need to make. So it's a bit tricky.
No, I agree with that. But what shouldn't happen in an organization is autopilot. That sounds like too much constraint. We want to go all the way to the bottom, and then we'll start wrapping around there.
Yeah, you
I
need
think
to be familiar with it.
you need to be, I think, even beyond familiar. You need to have been hands-on with it long enough to know that it actually doesn't meet your needs and give the reasons why. Because
Yes.
if all you end up doing is doing the exact same thing and create the same thing that autopilot does, you wasted time, money, effort, and probably weekends.
Exactly. That would be one of the two reasons. The second reason is that if you use something that is at a lower level, right, and then you're building those abstractions yourself, then you need to understand not only how it works so that you don't reproduce the same features, but also to know what is expected from you, right? Similar, like one of the things I often say, hey, if you want to run on on-prem, I think that that's great. But go to cloud first to understand what is expected from that decision, right? What you will need to do.
And if you even go to most of the clouds, you need to, if you're going to do it as a fully self-managed on-premise, I would say you need to go look at EKS with, going back to EKS, you need to go back to the first year of EKS, not the fifth year of EKS, and do things the way the first year EKS was.
Yep. That's your first step.
That's your first, and you're just not going to know it. So anyway, I thought it was an interesting article. Lots of big words. It is not a Friday afternoon read. I'll just put it that way. This is another one of those morning reads because when I start seeing words that are 10 characters or long and they're all strung together, it's too much. For me.
DevSec test build ops.
Yes. That's it. But anyway, it's still a good article. Stale repos action. I thought this was interesting. It is a GitHub action that helps your organization identify and report on repositories with no activity over a configurable period of time. We would not want this on my repo, my org, or your org. Right? Because we know that what's the half-life of a repo in our organizations? Active. Well, so you're probably better. Me, it's maybe a week.
Yeah.
All right, most of the stuff is a demo and it's gone. And it's just there to support long-term stuff.
But here's a question. The last words in that paragraph: archiving, reviving, and refocusing. Right.
Yep.
We're talking about GitHub here, correct?
Yes.
So I understand reviving. I understand refocusing. I don't understand archiving. I never archived any Git repo, and I have no intention to archive it. Kind of, unless they start charging me for every repo,
Right.
I'm not going to archive it. It's there, kind of like,
Yeah.
If Gmail gives you unlimited storage, would you ever delete an email?
No, never. But since I would delete some, but it's not like I would be aggressively in delete. I would not be, other than the junk mail, I'll just delete that. But
Yeah.
anything that was semi-important would stay. Not even important, just semi-important.
Move it to a different folder so it's out of your eyes, and that's it. Right?
Yep. That's it. So anyway, new action, stale repo action.
Nice.
We'll see if it works. This is a long blog post from Container Solutions with some really interesting Mid-Journey based images. I like the question, though, going back to what some of the other headlines were. Are we losing our critical thinking skills? Yes, we are. Or are we?
I think it's actually the other way around, right? The less time I have to spend on mundane tasks, the more time I have to think. Right?
I agree. I like the opening paragraph, though. They go through, if you've never seen Wall-E, which you should, if you haven't seen it, you'll cry. The first half of the movie has no dialogue at all. Probably more than the first half. But here's the scary thing. We're talking about Operation Clamp, okay, whatever. It occurs in 2105, which is just 80 years from now. Now, I'll be dead and gone by 2105. But it's only 80 years from now. I won't live to be 140, I don't think.
I don't know. I read
could.
the first sentence. Humans live a life of leisure, relying on advanced AI to do everything for them. And after that, I don't care about the rest. I'm in.
You're in?
I'm completely in. Yes, yes.
But do you remember Wall-E?
I don't know how I managed not to see that cartoon. I have a daughter. I've seen all the cartoons, but that one I haven't. I don't know why. I don't know how. So I'm not comparing it to the Wall-E. I'm just reading that sentence. Live a life of leisure, relying on advanced AI to do everything for me. What more can I ask for?
Okay. Anyway. Again, a very interesting thought piece on critical thinking, which is always something important to me. Since most of the time I'm not critically thinking. I'm just critically working. So maybe AI would be a good thing. I don't know. Lots of great images, though.
One of the common responses I had when I was doing professional services, and I'm curious whether you have the same, is very often when I suggest something that requires thinking, that requires not necessarily only thinking, but kind of doing something different or new, the response is very often, yeah, but we don't have time for that because we have so many fires to put down. Right?
That's very
Did
similar.
you get that response?
Yeah. It's like the meme of the Neanderthals pulling a cart with triangular wheels. And somebody's like, here's a round wheel. It's like, oh, no, we've got to get this done first.
Exactly. And to me, kind of, if AI or anything else can help me put down those fires or spend less time on it, or getting that done first with the cart, I'm in.
I like this one sentence, though. I encountered instances in context of ChatGPT where it generated non-functional TypeScript code. All TypeScript code is non-functional. By definition. It's been one of those days. Okay, anyway, good read.
I think that I have a feeling that people see those things like AI right now, ChatGPT, Copilot, and stuff like that, as if they've been here for many, many years. They're mature, and now we complain that actually it's a failed experiment, right? It doesn't write the code I need. It writes shitty code, bad code. We're forgetting that this appeared yesterday. Kind of, we are very, very early in this phase, right?
Believe it or not, there was a time before screens. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
The first computer I ever programmed on was a PDP-11. Do you know what my interface to that was?
Light bulbs?
Teletype. We had paper that came up through, and that's how I coded, was through the teletype. And it went on to spinning reels of tape that were about that big. That's how I coded. That was my first coding job. Fortran on top of that. So, yeah, I've been around a while. I just miss cards. I'll put it that way. I just miss punch cards. So, yeah, you tell me it's like, oh, this is messed up. It's like, look, I remember when there was a time before screens. Be happy with screens. Okay, a couple of tools this week. Staying in the AI realm from Robusta. I'm going to call it Robusta because that's how you say it. I don't know if it's right or not.
I don't know.
ChatGPT Kubernetes YAML plugin. So it gives ChatGPT up-to-date knowledge of every Kubernetes resource and their complete specifications. So if you're using ChatGPT, the paid version, to where you can actually use the plugins, you can actually have it do everything and tell you everything.
I need to try it.
Are you paying for ChatGPT?
No. But hey, I mean, I'm willing to spend a few bucks to try something and then cancel it. That doesn't work, right?
Actually, it looks
Again,
like it'll work without
you know
the
what
page.
I think about these setups.
I know. But this is running the server locally here. So you could spin it up. I don't know how it's doing. But, oh, yeah, it is plus is required. $20 for the first month. Or $20 every month. I'll put it that way. So is it worth $20 or not?
That's not unreasonable.
No, not at all.
For ChatGPT in general, not specifically for
Oh,
this
right.
project.
Right. So anyway, ChatGPT plugin from Robusta. Murmur. I thought this was interesting. I don't know. I actually have a use case for this right now. Here's the reason why I think it's interesting. So it's a small binary that reads its environment variables, replaces references to secrets with the secrets values, and passes the resulting variables to your application. It's a secret swap, right? That's fine. No big deal. So we had Doppler on the podcast, good grief, a very long time ago. The guy was in Atlanta. I can't remember his name. But if you think about Doppler CLI works with Doppler. 1Password CLI works with 1Password. That's all good. But watch what Murmur works with. Scaleway, which I haven't looked up yet, but AWS, Azure, and GCP. That's the key part. So now if I can have a CLI to go into these three key stores, I don't need Vault. Right? I mean, I love HashiCorp Vault. Don't get me wrong. It is a great credential store and beyond. But if I'm in AWS, Azure, GCP, I want to use their stores that are hosted for me, even if it costs me some money.
You know, I have a bunch of secrets for AWS, for Google, for Azure, for GitHub, everything in Google Cloud, Google Secret Manager, or whatever the name is. And all my secrets are export x equals something, right? That's how I define my secrets. And from there on, it's just source gcloud command.
Right. So maybe this makes that even simpler. But this, again, what you're doing is just specific. But I don't know. It's it appears to have, what is it? Adding Murmur to a container image to a pod. I don't know. You might find it interesting. I don't know.
I will try that. That's my weekend probably.
Okay. That's a sad way to spend your weekend. I'm replacing batteries this weekend. You know.
Okay.
Fire
I think
alarms.
that I win. I win then.
I'm replacing batteries and vacuuming. That's well, I have a lot more to do than that, but yes, those are the two things I have to get done this weekend. Okay, Murmur. Let's see. Oh yes, this one. Regal. You told me last week before last, that you've been writing some Rego code. Correct?
No.
I thought you said you were writing some Rego. Q.
I mentioned Q.
My bad. Sorry.
I love Q.
Well.
I
So
don't like Rego.
Well, okay. So anyway, there is now a linter for Rego from Styra, which are the guys behind Rego, OPA, Gatekeeper, all that stuff, right?
I think that they're the. I'm not sure whether they came up with Rego, but they're definitely the main shop on top of it.
Yep. So there is now a linter. So if you write some Rego, now you can run lint and lint
Very
them.
cool. Very nice.
And they have different levels too of how to tune it. So this is the one I'm probably going to play with a little bit this weekend, sadly. But it looks pretty sweet and pretty. My guess is they're using this internally and they just open sourced it.
Probably.
So that's Regal. So if you're stuck, excuse me, if you're enjoying writing Rego code, you probably should put this in your pipe and smoke it. I don't know.
Yeah, and then create a plugin for VS Code or IntelliJ or whatever you're using, and
Let it flow through that. We talked about ChatGPT just a minute ago. Look at this project. Create your own ChatGPT.
Oh, that sounds very similar to what Google announced not long ago, right?
Yeah. So run and create custom ChatGPT-like bots with OpenChat. Embed these anywhere, blah, blah, blah. Fully open source. Now, what do I mean by open source? Here's what I mean by open source. It's MIT licensed. It's legit MIT or legit open source.
Oh, it's a real open source.
We won't argue about that today. You and I won't never have to argue about that. So anyway, you can actually go through a live demo here, and you can set up your own stuff. How the heck does this even work? You provide your website, PDF files, whatever. We use the crawlers to crawl the data and transform it into knowledge using LLMs.
This sounds like something very, very interesting for companies. You know, all that wiki pages that nobody can ever find. You know, I'm the first one who cannot navigate wiki or Notion or whatever of when it reaches a certain size. So here's my theory. I think that vast majority of people who use wiki to read wiki, internal wikis and notions and stuff like that are mostly focused on the material they wrote. And have no idea where's the material others wrote.
Right, because how do you navigate? I mean, I was in a Confluence instance the other day. It's like, okay, I can do a search and I get back 50 things, but of the 50 things, which one is it that I'm really looking for? Whereas if I've got an LLM that's self-contained, that's trained on only my data, now we're talking.
I think that this is going to be one of the huge areas, not necessarily this project, but in general. Machine learning, AI, what's not, internally within companies, that's going to be huge.
Okay, so here's a live
How
demo.
do I resolve this issue that is happening to me in production?
Okay, let's ask that, because here's their live demo. So we've prepared multiple demos on what you can build with our tools in less than 5 minutes, same amount of time, whatever. Okay, AI customer support. Let's ask the question, what happens when OpenChat fails? Let's see. I'm sorry, but given the context and
I was about to say, we don't know what is the material
what it was trained on.
This demo is based on, right? You obviously cannot, it's
So-
limited to specific material.
So which license is OpenChat, which open source licensed under, right?
Mm-hmm.
It should know that about itself.
If it doesn't know that, then
Yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry, the context provided does not mention which open source license. So, okay, so either that or I don't know how to ask a question, which is also
that's the thing,
a high probability.
You know, there's the same problem, kind of like, it's not that I cannot find information in internal wikis and notions and stuff like that. I can, only if I know exactly what to search. And I don't.
Yep.
Anyways, no complaint on this because we don't know what it's really
No.
based on. I mean, what is the material they used?
Yeah, personal library. Yeah, I mean, just think about all these things. Like this, to me, this is an interesting, super interesting idea. Project is not production ready. It's meant for local environment. Okay, that's great. But for personal, like if I could feed it all of my financial transactions, like going to the grocery store, going to the gas station. That's like, when did I go to the gas station last? Oh, you went to the gas station, you went to the Shell gas station last Wednesday and it cost you $45.
Oh, there is one thing that I strongly disagree from the previous page. I saw it the moment you switched customer support. Kind of like the level of pain that I'm willing to do internally, right? If something doesn't work is much higher than a customer should be exposed to.
It's got to be really good. Like you can train it, but then you need to, your customer support people, here's how it needs to work. It needs to be trained, and then your frontline support people have to use it.
Or support people should be monitoring all the responses and kind of, okay, so this is what I would answer, give or take, right?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is they would have to be the first consumers of this.
Exactly.
and then they're going to
Exactly.
be
And then
they're going to be
copy-paste.
training it, right? They're getting it until it's okay. We feel like it's better. Okay, who can we open this up to that's maybe a friendly, right? People that ask questions normally they don't get too angry, right? They're not always on urgents, right? Not everything's an urgent. Those would be who I'd first open it up to next, and again, train until finally, okay, now we make it GA.
Exactly.
I want to try this, but I just don't know what I want to train it on yet. My financial stuff is the most interesting part because, again, I don't want that running out on the cloud, but if I can run it locally. By the way, have you ordered your new Mac Pro yet? Only about $12,000. No, not
Mac
Studio. Pro.
I don't understand who is going to buy Mac Pro.
People that need
It's same as Studio, just 5 times more expensive, right?
correct, but it gives you PCIe slots, PCI slots.
Yeah, but you cannot extend memory. You cannot basically do a bunch of things for that are the reasons why you would buy a tower, right?
Well,
So kind of like I would go with a tower instead of Mac Studio for extensibility. If there is no extensibility, why would I want a lot of free space?
Right.
Kind of like empty box. It's an empty box from what I've seen, right?
Yep. So M2 Ultra, right? If we're going to spend money, let's just spend money. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's try it.
No, but this is mine. Base model of $2,000. That's a sweet deal.
I know. But let's go the other direction. So I want the most expensive processor, I want the most expensive RAM, and I want the most expensive storage. Even taking a look at this, I mean, yes, it's a lot of money, $8,800, but it's also not horrible considering you have 8 terabytes of internal really fast storage, 192 gig of RAM, and then the maxed out 24 CPU, 76 GPU, 32 cores neural engine. I mean, if I had money to throw away, sure, why not? But okay, look, since we're here, and I don't know how it works around the world, I never buy new I always buy from Apple. The only other place I buy from is OWC or Mac Sales.
Refurbished, right?
Huh?
You go for refurbished.
I go refurbish on everything, yes. If I go back over here, I have to get back to the homepage first. And then I have to admit, though, the new 15-inch Air looks very interesting to me. But I go to the refurbs, I go to my Mac, go to Mac Studio. They always have, it's even coming down further. So used to, this model was $17.99. Well, they've now, this is the reason why, because they have the new series. Now it's gotten even cheaper. So now you can spend $1,500 on a 32,512, which is what I'm running. That's what my Mac Studio is. $1,500.
I mean, this is the same as the base model in terms of memory and storage. Just M1 chip, and I doubt that most people would ever notice the difference.
Most people wouldn't. Do they have these are all M. But then here's one, here's a refurbed Ultra. It's still good. So I always look for these that already have a strike through. That's what I'm looking for, is find a unit that has a strike through and then look and see, does that spec meet my requirements? These are, look at this. Here's an Ultra for only $3,000. Save $540. Don't buy new. That's all I'm saying. Don't buy new. Unless you need it. If you know you need it, buy new. But think about how long did I go using a 2011 MacBook Air? And by the way, I still use it for one specific use case. And it's starting to get a little too painful. So what will I do? I'll come over here to MacBook Air. I will look for a 13-inch refurb. I will pick a color that I like. Silver will be fine. Thank you very much. $850. I'm done.
All I'm going to say is that my next computers, whenever I choose to change, that's going to be Air. If it's laptop, it's going to be Air, and if it's desktop, it's going to be Studio.
Studio. Yep.
I don't need more than Air when I travel.
Nope.
Everything is in cloud anyways.
I'm not going to be buying anything anytime soon, but I want to go see the 15-inch Air and put it up against the 13. I want to feel it. But Anyway, all right, we went to there way too long on that anyway. You were talking about Pixie this week. I'm shocked.
Why shocked?
I didn't think you would like it.
I love it. I think it's absolutely amazing. I like scripting and stuff like that, and Pixie is all in one. It gets certain downsides, right? Kind of like maybe you want it a bit more modular, but if you're looking for all-in-one solution, Pixie is great. It ticks all the right boxes. Not necessarily developer focused, right? I'm not sure that I would give that to everybody, but ops people watching their system, Pixie sounds like a great solution.
There's no reason to not use it, right?
Yeah.
Is there a, this is from New Relic, right? Am I mixing these up?
This is open
This
source
is New
program,
Relic.
yes.
Correct.
And I think it's in CNCF.
Oh. Speaking of which, I listened to a podcast this morning, just like every morning. I want to go back to the, where is the, that's what I want to see again. Why is it not working? There we go. I wanted to see, so 20 graduated projects, only 20.
It's not easy to graduate a project in CNCF, both technically and politically.
I think more importantly is the second item, politically. Politically, I think is more important, or is not so much this more important that as it is more painful to politically pass. I was just looking at the list again and was like, wow. But then I wanted to take a look at, here it is. I want to look at Sandbox.
Yeah, Sandbox is a war zone.
Because the key thing about moving from, it was actually, I remember what it was about. It was about Dapper, D-A-P-R. They basically were able to bypass Sandbox and go straight to incubation because they already had broad adoption.
Yes. That's doable and possible. You need to fulfill all the requirements, but yes.
I think what you're going to hear some very old stuff.
Yeah, there are, you'll find projects. I don't remember which one. I found a couple of them that are not even maintained anymore.
Well, they do have an archive, so I guess they just haven't moved archived out
Yeah.
for everything. But anyway, that's see, to me, K3S should be beyond Sandbox by now.
Yeah, but K3S is in dead water now. I think it's hardly maintained anymore.
Really? In favor of what?
I don't know, but check the commits. It's at the top should be the repo.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking here at the commits down here too.
Okay, didn't know that they have it there. Okay.
40 minutes ago. You're saying check the
Okay, I was wrong.
insights.
I was wrong.
Regardless, I don't know why, other than just going through the chart here of trying to understand. It's the other thing. The other guy that was on the podcast was talking about. There's 160 projects in the CNCF right now, or at least as of the Vancouver. What was that? Open Source
Summit.
Open Source Summit. 160, and they were getting ready to vote on 12 to be added. Potentially, I mean, there were 12 that were getting ready
Added
to.
or moved from Sandbox. I mean.
No, added into CNCF. They're getting ready to vote to accept in some way, shape, or form. It just seems like we still have too many bits and pieces. We were talking about abstraction a little bit earlier. I think there's still not enough abstraction. We still have, in this case, 160 Legos that were.
Yeah, not enough. Yeah.
There's not enough
Unifying
opinionation.
abstraction.
Yeah.
That will come.
It will.
You know, another sentence that I like to repeat very often, that open source is winner takes all type of game. Over time, there is typically one, maybe two projects that dominate completely that area.
I guess we'll figure out what those are in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, in some cases you already can, right? Kind of like, so
Yeah.
orchestration, that's Kubernetes, period, right?
Yeah.
Service mesh, Istio is, I think, vast majority, with Linkerd being very far behind, and everything else very, very far behind Istio, Linkerd. OpenTelemetry is, that's a done deal, right? So there are some,
Yeah.
and that will continue.
Okay. What else? I think that's all. That's all the news that I had for this week. A lot of reading homework for everybody this weekend, right? There's just the not Styra. Who was it? The AI. It was from Container Solutions.
Yeah.
AI-Augmented, the one from Google about shifting down, and then the Chainguard one about doing anonymous. How do I say this? Anonymous proof of life, anonymous proof of existence,
Anonymous signatures.
anonymous signatures. Thank you. Wow. What a time we live in. That's
Fun
math.
times.
That's for real. Next week we will be here. In fact, let's go through next week. Monday you've got a video coming out. I'm assuming it's already done. I haven't looked yet.
It's not, but it probably will be.
Wednesday we have the podcast. Friday we'll be back. Unless something changes. Wait, is that right? Look at your calendar. Are we back next week?
Probably.
Next Friday?
Yeah.
It's the
I think we are,
23rd, yeah. So next week's the 16th. Yeah, next week's the 16th.
Yeah, I'm
We're
traveling on Saturday, so yes.
Right. Well, we should be here. We'll see how his hotel Wi-Fi
Total
is.
Wi-Fi, yes.
So we may or may not be here next Friday. We definitely won't be here the Friday after that. And then we're almost into July. Can you believe half the year is almost gone?
No, the Friday after that, no.
The 30th.
The Friday after, yeah, I don't know anymore. Whatever we
16th
scheduled there.
Next Friday is 23rd is no.
Exactly. Yeah, Friday after that, yes, exactly.
And then 30th is also a maybe,
Maybe.
but it's a strong maybe. Versus next week is 50-50, I think. Man, hotel Wi-Fi this year seems to have been like downgraded across the board. You have not stayed in a place to where a hotel Wi-Fi has been. It's been fair, but it's not been good.
Yeah, no, it's it's one of those things. How can we not have Wi-Fi everywhere these days? Is beyond me.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if some areas in some cities can have decent Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi on a street, then I don't expect anything less from hotels.
wait, cities have public Wi-Fi?
I mean, there are places, including
Are there?
Barcelona, where
Oh, wow, okay.
you walk the street and I'm connected.
Not that you should be. Different conversation.
I mean, if you're visiting,
Mhm.
and you don't have international SIM or whatever the kind of plan, you want Wi-Fi.
You can say here, I had to pay last time for his Wi-Fi. And it's like, yeah, it's the time of year again, I guess, or time of life. All right, so we'll be back 3 times next week, and for the people that enjoy seeing us on Fridays, you get to see us again next Friday. But you really probably should think about that. You probably should enjoy seeing other people. But if it is your end of the day, have a great weekend. I'm going back in the hole and writing more code today. Yes, I'm actually writing code, but I also have to write scripts for next week. I don't have any ideas. I think I've got 2 ideas based off what we talked about today. So I'll test those in a minute. Here's the worst part of this. I actually have to go open up Jira issues.
To yourself. Do you close them as soon as you open them, or? I had cases where I was forced to work with Jira tickets for the things that I do, and then I would first do the things, then I would open a Jira ticket and close it.
It's almost close to what I'm doing, but unfortunately what I'm getting ready to work on is probably going to be a 9-month thing. So I'm having a meeting with somebody in a minute to go through, okay, how should I actually do this in Jira? Because usually I do what you do. Do the work, do the ticket, close the ticket, move on.
Long time ago, before having decent APIs and stuff like that, I spent considerable amount of time creating my Selenium scripts to work with Jira. Yeah, go open that URL, click this button, fill in those fields, click another button, got finished.
Yep.
It never worked for long, to be honest. It wasn't a successful project,
No.
but it was a very brave attempt.
Yeah. Before the APIs, it's what you'd have to do. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here with us live this week. If you are with us live, if you're watching the replay, thanks for making it through to the end. Do the YouTube things. Give us a thumbs up before you leave. And have a great weekend, and we will see you again, find the buttons, next week. Thanks.